Hey guys, today I have another rogue guide for you. So we are gonna talk about the Overpower Flurry rogue. And I don't know how many of you are still playing Diablo 4, but I wanted to make this video for a couple of reasons. So first of all, this might be the most potent rogue build right now in terms of overall power level and also clear speed. You can see me speed farm this pit 90 in about 3 minutes, which would be very challenging with most other rogue builds. And secondly, I'm especially proud of this one because I have theory crafted it in season 5 already. So maybe you also remember my PTR tier list video from 3 months ago, where I also teased this build and put it into S tier, which has proven to be true. So I can actually show you this YouTube video here. So here I had this season 6 rogue PTR tier list 2 or 3 months ago, and here I put the Overpower Flurry rogue on S tier, actually as plus tier even. And yeah, I also shared it then like my first build version with a small rogue community, and it may have spread and influenced more people from there. So in fact I wanted to be the first one on YouTube to showcase this build and kinda put my stamp on it, like Xario did it with Andariel rogue back then. This would be pretty cool, but then a couple of other things happened, so I was very busy with the new Spiritborn class. Then I was doing Dance of Knives rogue, and also kinda lost my motivation for Diablo 4 in general. And in the last weeks I became sick with corona or a similar virus and could not do any content at all. But yeah, so in the background you can already see the Overpower Flurry rogue in action. It has damage spikes up to 8 billion with each flurry hit, and we are hitting 4 times with each flurry cast and casting about 2 flurries per second. So you can assume a total DPS somewhat about 50 billion. So yeah, it's a pretty powerful and high damage number here, but this power also comes with a cost. So if we speak about the weaknesses of the build, so the greatest weakness is for sure that it's very requirement heavy. So you will need a lot of items, you will need to masterwork them in a kind of perfect way. So you have a lot of requirements like cooldown reduction and maximum resources. We will cover all of this in the next sections of this video. So you basically need very good gear in order to make this work. So if you just started with D4, then it won't work. But for all of you who already have some pretty nice items like a Shaco with a lot of cooldown reduction, for example, you should definitely give this build a try. And here you can see how I delete this boss in about 30 seconds, I think. So yeah, pretty nice build for speed farming tier 90s especially. Okay guys, before we continue with the key mechanics of this build, please consider first to give this video a like and also subscribe to this channel to not miss any further rogue guides in the future. This would really help me and I appreciate all support from you guys. So now let's continue with the setup here. So how does this actually works? We deal all of our damage thanks to overpowering with each flurry cast. So as you can see here, these orange damage numbers indicate that all of our flurries are actually overpowering. And overpower mechanic is kinda busted right now, so you could also say overpower is overpowered actually. So how does this work? We have 2 key items in this build. One are Beastfall Boots, and the other is the Banished Lord's Talisman. So Banished Lord Talisman says that after spending 275 of your primary resource, your next core skill, which in this case is Flurry, will be guaranteed to overpower and also deal some additional amount of damage. So the first requirement in this build here is to reach 275 resources at least, so we can make use of this Banished Lord Talisman. And how do we spend so much resources at once? Now Beastful Boots comes into play, and when we cast an ultimate skill, so in this case we have Death Trap. So after we cast Death Trap, my next core skill, so my next Flurry, will consume all of my energy at once and also deal some more amount of damage. So after I cast Death Trap, you can see now I'm casting Flurry and all of my energy is spent at once. And this interaction between Beastful Boots and Banished Lord Talisman allows us to basically overpower with every cast of Flurry. So you can see here on the bottom of the screen, this 275 basically never changes, meaning that I'm always spending 275 energy at once and causing my flurries to overpower. So this is the key mechanic here. And yeah, we have a certain maximum resource and also cooldown reduction threshold needed to work properly. So as I already mentioned, 275 maximum resource is the first requirement here. And then in order to spam your death trap, you also need to reach a certain threshold, which is 10 seconds. So this is because of preparation. With preparation, we can reduce our ultimate skill cooldown by up to 10 seconds. This is currently bugged. In Season 7 this should be even better, so it should actually allow us to reset more than 10 seconds at once, but right now it's only 10 seconds. So for that reason we need to have Death Trap at 10 seconds maximum. And there are a couple of different combinations, like item combinations, how you can reach both of these thresholds, so your maximum resource and the cooldown reduction for Death Trap. So it really depends on your gear. So by the way, here's my Harlequin Crest Jaco. Yeah, I don't want to say anything further here, but you can see here I have a greater affix on cooldown reduction, and this makes a lot of things more easy here. But this build will also work if you don't have a greater affix on cooldown reduction. So it really depends on your gear. But because I have a GA here, I don't need a greater affix on my boots, for example, and I can get away with only 2 masterworks without a greater affix, and only 1 masterwork of trap cooldown reduction on my ring, for example. But in the planner that I will link below in the description or comment section, so you will go to my Mobilitics planner as usual, and there I will have a list of different options, so a couple of options that you can choose off in how you can best reach these thresholds for your case. So I think this is pretty good for you guys. So you will definitely find one option that will work for your item setup, depending on what items you have. And now we also need to quickly talk about the skill rotation, so how you can get the maximum amount out of this build. So here it depends on your setup, if you're a controller, controller player or keyboard and mouse player. Since I am a keyboard and mouse player myself, I will start with this setup here. So in this setup we have 3 abilities that you want to activate basically at once, but it is very easy to achieve. So all you have to do is you will hold down all of the 3 buttons at once, and each time their cooldown is ready, you can see that they will automatically cast. So you don't have to spam these buttons, you just hold down all of these 3 keys at once, and they will automatically reset while you do so. So the only thing you have to do basically is to find the right pacing for your Flurry. Because you can see if you cast Flurry too quickly here, so if I just spam my Flurry, then I won't overpower with each attack anymore. So finding the right pacing is very important for this build in order to maximize the damage. And the tip I can give you here in the beginning is you can try to pay attention to your concealment skill. So every time concealment will be ready to cast, you will see this green bar appearing above the concealment skill. So in the beginning it's very helpful to basically cast your Flurry each time when you see this green bar appearing over the concealment skill bar. So you can see here I'm just casting Flurry every time concealment is ready, and this time I make sure that all of my Flurry attacks will be guaranteed overpowers. And once you have learned this pace and kind of internalized it, then you can of course stop focusing on concealment, but especially in the beginning it is a very good training to learn the pace of this build. So you can cast Flurry up to 2 times per second, more or less, and this is the perfect flow for this build here. But when you're a controller player, things are a bit differently, because with controller you can't hold down more than 2 keys at once, so you won't play with concealment anymore. But I have actually a different controller setup for all controller players, also in my Mobilitics planner in the description. And there you will also only play with Death Trap and Cold Imbuement. And you will have to switch some items, so you will not play with T-Bot's Will, but with some legendary pants, for example. And also you will have a different aspect on the ring, so just check the planner for the controller setup. But there you will only have to hold down 2 keys at the same time. But this should be even easier, so you will just push Death Trap and Cold Imbuement at the same time, and also will need to pace your Flurry for the perfect timings. But yeah, it's kind of very similar, but with 2 skills instead of 3 skills. Just a note to know here with the setup with 3 skills, so with keyboard and mouse, you will reach a higher damage potential. So as a controller player, you will not be reaching as high damage numbers as with the keyboard setup. But this is something, unfortunately, that you cannot do anything about it, and it's just how it is. But yeah, this is basically the setup and the skill rotation for this build. In terms of gear and items, so I can quickly go over all of my gear here, so you get an idea of the requirements that you might have for this build in order to make it work or deal as much damage as I do in this video here. So besides the requirements that I was talking about earlier in the video, so the death trap cooldown and the 275 resources, the way how you scale your damage in the most efficient way is by increasing your maximum life, because Overpower works in a way where it also scales your overpower damage with the amount of maximum life that you have. So for that reason, it is also recommended to use this Elixir of Fortitude to increase your maximum life. And also we are playing with the Xal rune here, the, let me check, Yule Xal rune combination, which also gives us some more maximum life. So you can see here I have a total life of 52,000 as a rogue, which is pretty insane. So this is by far the most efficient source for scaling your endgame damage with this build. So for that reason we have maximum life on basically every item here. So here I was also lucky, I have a greater affix on my Doombringer, which is very good. And yeah, basically every item here has some amount of maximum life to it as well. And also you want to have a chance for Flurry to deal double damage, but be careful here, the maximum amount for this, like the cap is 100%, so here I have 90% on my 200 and 40% on my 100, so I'm reaching 130%, which is already beyond the cap and is kind of useless. So here you don't actually work to you don't want to masterwork it, but instead you want to masterwork your maximum life. But yeah, my items are not perfect, so there's still some room for improvement. And this build, for example, is very, like, this build especially is very, like, masterwork dependent, because you can scale damage in a pretty effective way. So each time you hit some of this maximum life affixes with some masterwork, it will increase your damage in a significant way. So just check out my planner. In the planner I will have all of the perfect gear setup for each of the different build variations. So just stick to my planners there. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight some of the stuff here. So masterworking is kind of crucial in this build. For example, Beastfall Boots, you want to masterwork and hit your ultimate cooldown reduction at least 2 times. And also you want to hit your maximum resource, and for T-Bolt Swill you also want to hit your maximum resource at least 1 time. But yeah, just check my Mobility Planner, I will have a detailed description of everything there as well. So I think that's just enough for the item part here. I think you have an idea now. And now let's talk about the Mercenary, maybe kind of quick here. So here it is very important that you play with Rahir and also with this shield charge skill here, because you also need a source of fortifying yourself in order to make Overpowering deal more damage. And here shield charge, or let's say the basic skill of Rahir actually fortifies you for 5% of your maximum life. So this is very important that you choose this shield charge and not play with any other mercenary skill. So just copy the setup here. For the reinforcement, you will most likely want to take Variana, but this one is not as important as Rahir. Rahir is the important part, that you take shield charge. And also one more tip in the beginning. So in the beginning of the fight you will deal less damage than later on, and this is because you also will need to stack up your momentum. So if I remove my momentum here for a second, you can see that not all of my Flurry casts will overpower, and this is because we need to build up our momentum stacks to 10 in order to increase our maximum resources thanks to momentum. And so just keep in mind, in the beginning of the fight you will deal less damage because of that, and also because Rahir needs some attacks first in order to fortify you, and once you are fortified you will also deal way more damage, so just keep that in mind. And now let's talk about the skills of the build, so the skill tree. So this is how it looks like. Of course, you want as many Flurry ranks as possible. Here I have 26. I think this can go up to 29 in a perfect setup. Then, of course, we take a bunch of this damage multipliers, which Rogue has plenty of. So yeah, here we also want alchemical advantage, for example, because we get some additional attack speed here. By the way, I'm not sure how important attack speed actually is for this build and if it really helps you, but I took here this cutthroat attack speed affix on the weapons here, but I'm not sure exactly if it works, but if it works, then also alchemical advantage is pretty good. And here Death Trap, you want to put as many ranks as possible in order to lower its cooldown. And here momentum. By the way, one more thing, if you have trouble reaching this 10 seconds cooldown with Death Trap, you can also use this glyph here, which is, let me check, the Vex rune. So with the Vex rune, you can gain 3 additional skills for 8 seconds, and this will also lower your Death Trap cooldown. So you can see after I attack a bunch of times, my Death Trap cooldown now goes to 9.36 seconds, which is below 10 seconds. So this is also something that can help you with reaching the threshold if you need it. So keep that in mind as well. But yeah, ranks to Death Trap also important here. So these are the skills. Now I want to quickly go over the Paragon. So here we have the Fluidity glyph in the starting board, then we go to the Cheap Shot board with Control glyph, then we go to No Witness board with Devious, we go to Deadly Ambush board with Headhunter, and we go to Dance Macabre with Kenny. Now I also want to give you some last tips and important things to keep in mind. So I forgot to mention that the order of your skills in the skill bar is actually pretty important. So you want to keep the exact same order here as I do, if you're a keyboard player, because the skills are cast automatically in the order from left to right. So what I mean by that is, if I hold down all of the 3 skills here, then it will first cast Death Trap, then it will cast Cold Imbuement, and then it will cast Concealment. And the order is pretty important because we're also playing with this Dance Macabre node that I just showed you in the Paragon section. So after casting Mobility or Subterfuge skill, you increase the damage of your next skill by 50%. And the cool thing here is, if we keep this order of Cold Imbuement first and Concealment after Cold Imbuement in the skill bar, the game will automatically apply this 50% damage buff to most of our Flurry skills. So I think this works in 90% of the time and boosts our damage by additional 50%. So if I would have it this way here, then I will deal less damage because it no longer applies this 50% damage buff. So you can maybe check the numbers here and just check the numbers. Once I switch back to the original order, you can see the numbers get higher, and we are now reaching numbers up to 2 billion. So the order is pretty important here. This is something I forgot to mention. And also some last FAQ here and tips. So, for example, why do we have diamonds in our weapons? This is a question that many people ask me in all of my rogue guides. So, because we are playing with No Witness in our Paragon board, we want to reach a certain amount of ultimate skill damage in order to scale up to 45% of this maximum bonus cap here. And this damage also increases your Flurry damage. So for that reason, you want diamonds in your weapon and some other nodes here in order to reach its ultimate skill damage and reach this damage cap. So this is the reason behind that. But yeah, I think that's actually it for this video. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you still have some use of it. Maybe you are still playing Diablo 4 and yeah, find this build here interesting and want to recreate it. So I would really appreciate, as always, if you liked this video and leave me a subscription. Today, by the way, also the PTR for Season 7 will start. I'm also pretty hyped for that. I already have a very powerful Overpower build in mind for next season that I will try out, and also will probably update you about tomorrow. So yeah, if you're interested in that, then check out the video tomorrow. But yeah, we will see, and I wish you guys a nice day until there, and thanks for watching, and I see you next one. Bye bye.